Hello, and welcome to my presentation on the planet Mercury. My name is Griffin Hernelstein. So, just to go over what to expect in this presentation, I want to discuss Mercury as a planet itself, the history of Mercury, when it was formed, um, kind of the properties of its atmosphere, everything like that. The geologic history of Mercury, so any tectonic plate activity that's been going on there, anything that's been really changing shape to its surface, any geologic activity currently on Mercury, so covering anything previously stated that's happening on Mercury right now, any plate movement, any faults, or anything like that. So let's get into it. So first off, with the history. So Mercury was formed about 4.5 million years ago when gravity pulled swirling gas and dust together to form this small planet nearest the Sun. Like its fellow terrestrial planets, Mercury has a central core, a rocky mantle, and a solid crust. This planet is considered terrestrial mainly because it is composed of rock and metal. It does have an iron core. It is the first planet to be seen by the naked eye, is also the first planet to be recorded by a telescope by Galileo in the 17th century. It is the closest planet to our sun with a distance average about 58 million kilometers. It is also named after the swiftest Roman god Mercury. Um, It is slightly bigger than our moon. It also has a composition on its surface relatively close to our moon's surface, with a bunch of craters. A lot of those craters coming from asteroid impacts in the past when it was originally formed within the first few million years. And it is also the second most dense planet next to Earth with that large metallic iron core. All right, so for the geologic history of Mercury, we're going to begin. Not too many explorations have been done on the surface of Mercury. This is due to its insane surface temperatures, making it impossible for humans to step foot on there. However, we have had probes and satellites launched on missions to research the surface of Mercury. This includes the Mariner 10, which was able to give us our first look and first picture at Mercury in 1974. To dive a little bit more deep on the surface temperatures, because Mercury is so close, being 58 million kilometers average from the sun, and the tilt on its axis, this results in the day temperatures can reaching up to 800 degrees and the nightly temperatures reaching around negative 290 degrees. Um, Looking at the surface of Mercury, it's easy to see that it has a heavy amount of craters. This is results from just bombardments and asteroids, comets colliding into the surface of this planet, resulting in those huge crater spots and the multiple that you're able to see just off first looks and the picture that I provided. Um, for the tectonic plate movement, like our Earth, it does have tectonic plate movement, but it's different because Mercury as a whole is one plate rather than Earth having a dozen or so multiple plates, causing them to slide and collide any which way. Mercury's plate will just sort of shrink or contract. The shrinking or contracting can result in faults or scarps along the surface, just kind of leaving any more blemishes and things like that. But this does prove that Mercury is and always has been kind of changing its shape and changing its surface relative to how Earth's surface does as well, and its plate tectonic movement. All right, and then now we're going to be getting into the geologic activity that is currently happening on Mercury. As previously stated, Mercury is very much so like our Earth. Um, it has just kind of all those combinations like our planet has. It has that huge molten iron core. It has that outer crust or shell. It has plate tectonic movement. It does have past volcano activity resulting in plains, gravens, basins, um, evidence of fault scarps along the surface. Um, the longest fault scarp in the solar system is actually on Mercury with a total of 620 miles long. And again, these fault scarps result in the interior of that planet kind of shrinking and almost kind of contracting. resulting in wrinkles along the surface. And these wrinkles are kind of what we consider to be those fault scarps. Um, there is also evidence of this planet cooling, so because it does have that molten core and it did have that past of volcanic activity, it does kind of prove now that with how the planet is, with the surface that it is being kind of dry, this is from the plate tectonic movement over time due to that one plate and the shrinking and the constant contracting. This will result in the surface kind of drying and kind of leaving it with almost really nothing left to produce. Um, this will result in the planet almost cooling down to some sort of effect. All right, and lastly, we get to my etceteras page or my extras page. This is a slide where I just wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of fun facts that I was able to find doing my research, coming across the different articles and websites that I was looking at, and not necessarily pertaining to the geologic activity that I was talking about in previous slides or the history, but just more so things, like I said, that I thought would be interesting to share. So to kind of kick that off, Mercury is actually one of 5 planets that is visible to the naked eye. This means, of course, that if you were to step outside at some point during the year, you would be able to look up from where you're standing and see Mercury pretty much staring right back at you. I compare this to kind of when we are able to see our moon sometimes throughout the year. It'd be sort of that similar situation. So another pretty cool fun fact is that actually one of the earliest recordings of Mercury came from the Sumerians at 3000 BC. Um, this was really cool and interesting for me to learn because I thought originally that, maybe the ancient Romans or the ancient Greeks were the first to kind of look at these, um, or to kind of kickstart the recordings and the research into our solar system and into the planets in general. Um, Finding that there were actually earlier recordings of this is actually really cool. And then just to kind of get back on track towards talking about Mercury as a planet itself and its structure, its makeup, kind of getting back a little bit to that and a couple facts about it. Mercury actually orbits the sun at nearly 50 kilometers per second. In kilometers per hour, this would be 170,500, which is just insanely fast, making it the fastest planet in the solar system, which is extremely cool. Um, and then just to kind of talk a little bit more about another point that I found in a different website was talking about Mercury's atmosphere. So instead of having an actual atmosphere, much like we do on Earth, um, Mercury actually has a thin exosphere, which is created more so by atoms that are being kicked up either by solar winds coming off of the sun, or meteors and asteroids that are crashing into the surface of the planet, thereby kicking up a lot of these dust particles and a lot of these chemicals into the air, creating this thin exosphere. So another pretty cool fact there. Another fact that I was able to learn from a couple of these articles is that Mercury actually does not have any moons either. This is due to the sun's gravitational pull, in fact. Due to it being so intense and so extreme, Mercury wouldn't be able to have moons because they would just be getting sucked in by the sun, basically, due to its natural gravitational pull. So in retrospect, that is how close Mercury is to the sun. You can see it in the little picture that I was able to provide. It is almost being hidden by the glare coming off of the sun and almost by that sunlight coming off of there. So just absolutely crazy to think about. Um, and then to talk about kind of some of the creators and the features that are on the planet, something that is actually kind of funny to me is that a lot of the features and creators that are on Mercury are named after famous deceased celebrities. So just to kind of provide a few or a couple, Dr. Seuss is one of them. There's, I believe, a crater that's named after him on the surface of Mercury, and then there's an old dance phenomenon called Alvin Ailey. He was a famous dance celebrity. Can't particularly name when, but yeah, very interesting to learn about. And thank you guys for listening to my presentation. And I hope you guys were able to learn um, at least a little bit of what I did. Thank you.